Alice. Hey, Alice. How's it going?
Hey, Alice.
We're here at your shrine. We have erected a monument in your honor. Yeah.
What strange eyes you have, Alice.
Yes. Yeah. What strange eye you have.
The Tibetans imagine their third eye as a horn of light.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So it comes out from like.
Yeah, they
pinnacle?
imagine they get a horn of
shit.
light. Yeah, I read that in Tingle. I can't remember his whole name. Tingle Tenzin Rinpoche. Yeah, he wrote a book called Dream and Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep.
Okay.
Super duper cool book. It's the whole meditation practice of the Tibetans, like for dying. So it like encompasses like their whole system.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a special book.
What was
neat.
this like a modern breakdown of it, or is this like an ancient book?
He's alive. He's old
Okay.
now. But he wrote it at 97.
I got you.
You know, and it was like, you know, when the Buddhist community started like publicizing their secret doctrines, you know, like it would have been completely forbidden for him to share all that shit.
Yeah,
you know?
this is the guy that you were telling me about. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's taboo, but times have changed, and this needs to get out there.
Yeah, and most of if you like go buy any Tibetan book, they'll kind of start with that, you know.
That's very like the Book of the Law, Crowley's book that he received from Horus. It was a similar thing. The first rule of the Book of the Law is don't discuss it, and anyone found discussing it is no true Elamite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, look down upon this person. They are not.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably where you get closer to like the, you know, satanic aspect of his philosophy, because like he understood like the beginning of the Torah, like these Kabbalist occultist type people, you know, and he was definitely like heavily into that shit.
Yeah.
Like they understand that the nature of the origin of God was like pure potential manifestation of life, you know, and that in itself is love and like, you know, everything positive. I mean, you know, God wants to become more of him, like more life and more life, you know, so like they're taking that essence of God that he separated from himself to give them life, and then not doing it in return as an act of rebellion, you know, and they're using that magical power that's designed to give life, you know, and this is the thing that's making a tree come up and drop a seed to make another tree, you know, like, and it's kind of doing this through all of nature.
Yeah.
And so like they're like, fuck dropping a seed, you know, I'm gonna use all of this power for myself, and they know that it's like opposing the nature of the sea of potential more or less.
I get what you're saying, but calling it satanic to me is like almost the opposite, right? Because to me the serpent is knowledge. He is the cult breaker. So to me that is blasphemic. What he's doing is blasphemic to maybe devil worship, but not Lucifer.
I wasn't sure like the right term to use, but you know that like
I know what you mean.
You know, like, because I mean, he definitely wasn't about like Jesus or nothing. You know, and love everybody.
And he definitely he's definitely hitting on some of the points like self worship, but like I think that's where I start to break down the difference between Lucifer and Satan. Satan is more of, I mean, well, Lucifer. First of all, Lucifer is pride. He's
the king of Babylon.
Right. The tear down of authority.
Yeah.
An erection of himself.
Yeah.
And like there's pride with that, but he's like then okay, so you have the serpent who and you know, maybe that's the problem, is trying to correlate all these characters when they're not the same character, because the serpent in the garden is not Satan. It's the serpent in that.
And he's the personification of chaos, and I mean, I'm still kind of like putting everything in its place concerning that, you know, but it seems that he was the almost like the firstborn of God. It's fucked up to say. I hate just coming out and saying that shit, but like he is the fruit of God's union with chaos. You know, when God, you know, I have to start saying shit. So yeah, like the sea of potential, you know, it is love, it's infinite light. If something's in there to block the light and get shined on to see that hey, this is infinite light, you know, then it's not infinite light no more.
Right.
You know, so it's a paradox that they like to contemplate, you know? And so, like, for that thing to prove it exists, it has to differentiate itself from something, you know? So it has to create space to be separate, to break forth out of itself.
Yeah.
And so it cuts a portion of itself off. And the Hebrew vocabulary of the Torah, like the word create means to cut, and it was the root word of covenant for the word berith. You know, and so the idea is that God's the only existence, so he has to sever a piece of existence from himself to create something else with.
Okay.
You know, and this is like what they were tripping on when they wrote the Torah, right. Which, you know, no telling how long it actually took to write it. But you know, and so that's the essence of God too, you know, and it's on the other side of a void, you know. And so basically, like, for God to make that part of himself evil, he had to then pull his spirit out of it but leave a form, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it says the earth that he made was without form and void, which I actually suspect that the English translators were actually trying to push away from this meditative backdrop of the story.
Okay.
You know, by saying that it didn't have form, it's not form, you know, they're like getting away from these guys that talk too deep, you know.
Gotcha.
Like, but nonetheless, like, you know, so to make the form, he had to pull his life out of it. So that's the picture of a dead body, and it was without form and void. That just means chaotic and lifeless. Like, it means that there was no possibility for life to exist there. You know, like, that's what they're describing when they say it's without form and void. It's a cool phrase. It's tohu, bohu, or bohu. B&B's like depends on. I don't know the breath marks, but yeah.
And that's
tohu bohu.
And that's like, to the best of our ability to translate it in English, it breaks down into what? It's like, you
could say like.
I'm not trying to be
desolation,
like super exact, but
desolation and emptiness.
Okay.
Like, basically. And it just means that there's no possibility for life to exist. And they call it an abyss covered in complete darkness.
Right.
So imagine yourself in the middle of the ocean with no life, no light, no warmth. All is black, you know, and it's like raging waves, you know, tossing you around. Like, you're just going to die. It's useless for the living, you know.
That's the void. That's the abyss.
Yeah, like, you know, they're, you know, these are concepts and ideas more than anything.
Right.
But
I mean, it's Leviathan. It's a lot of things.
Yeah. So yeah, like Leviathan is like the sea dragon. He's the personification of the sea. But so like when God creates, you know, space, heaven, and earth, the primordial sea. You know, there was no land until the 6 days of creation. You know, but that's the picture of God refilling the dead form with his life, you know.
Okay.
And that's how we came to be, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we come from darkness, we don't know shit, and all of a sudden we're alive. You know?
That comes across in a lot of different mythos too. Like, Phil, you were just telling me that the Earth was made, according to Norse, it's Ymir's corpse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that Midgard?
Yeah, that's our.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our realm.
It was made out of Ymir's corpse.
And Ymir actually there was originally fire and ice, and in the middle there was condensation, and it dripped, and that drip became Ymir, the first living being.
Same story. And I don't want to jump ahead, but Adam and Eve is them telling the story again. You know, so here's the sea of potential, and then the opposite force, the sea of chaos, you know, and they mingle and create life, which is Adam, which he's the male personification of the sea of potential, and God takes blood from Adam's side and makes Eve, so you have the two opposing characters again. You see, they just start out with a pattern, and then they just keep re-expressing the pattern. Like, the whole Bible is built that way. But
yeah,
when God brings forth land, you know, like, and then starts bringing life about, you know, all of a sudden Satan just rolls in, like, after the 6 days of creation, you know, and it's like, where did he come from, you know? Like, and the idea was that he was the personification of the sea, the chaotic sea that's at enmity with. If no life can survive there, then its nature is hostile to life, you know? And so it's almost as if, like, when God separated, you know, a portion of himself to create chaos with, you know, which Isaiah says that directly. And he talks about tohu bohu in that passage. I think it's Isaiah 65. But he says, I form light and create darkness. Like, and it's talking about the first verse of the Torah. Like, I form light. It's like, you know, the same thing when he said, I'll let there be light. And I make peace and create evil. Like, this is what it's talking about.
It's contrast. In order for him to make light, there is darkness.
One of the most simple analogies is the battery to opposite polarities generating energy.
Yeah.
You know? That one's like basic. I guess because we've grown up in the technology.
Well, Alice, you heard it here first. Satan is the firstborn son of God. Denny, just kidding.
Like that's what I think they were getting at. You know, like I'm not gonna say that I'm certain on that, but you know.
No, yeah.
Like that's what it seems like.
That makes like I get what you're saying.
You see how hard it was to just answer a question, but yet like not hard, but you like you know it's a field of knowledge.
So this brings me to my next question, and like. I mean, you wouldn't put this on yourself, but I'm putting this title on you. You are the Rhetoric Rabbit Hole resident Bible expert. Whenever I have Bible questions, I come to you. Because, you know, being raised the way I was, I have I would say, a roundabout understanding of the Bible more so than, let's say, the average individual. Mm-hmm. But you're always blowing my mind with shit. So while I got you here, I guess... what I want to know, like, it's really easy to play, like, because a lot of Christians today are such a joke, it's really easy for a lot of people to play off the Bible as a joke. Yeah. But...
I see it all the time.
Yeah. And I understand it, you know, because there's a lot of, like, organized religion sucks. Yeah. And if that's your only like access to the Bible, then yeah, I understand it leaving a bad taste in your mouth. But the reality is we are dealing with a very profound piece of literature that's obviously impacted humanity more so than any other book.
Yeah, in like amazing ways. So, like, you know, in like good and bad type of amazing, you know, like.
So these ancient rabbis that we are still deciphering and understanding what the fuck they did. How do you think they were so intelligent?
Oh gosh.
Why were they so smart?
So, like,
because in some ways they're more advanced.
No, it's insane, and like you know, like I want to talk about how insane it is, like you know, with some facts and like really get into like how crazy these people were on just a divine level, and I know in my like with everything I got that the plane that energy manifests from is conscious, like, and like the potential for something to actuate from that plane, you know, like everything that could manifest from this source, you know, this like quantum vacuum to where energy arises from, this is how the quantum physicists kind of describe it. All information that could ever be has to exist there.
Oh, the Akashic record.
Like,
yeah.
Like dude, like I'm talking about scientists talking about this shit, like mathematicians hanging out with
present,
physicists,
future,
and biologists.
All information.
It has to be there.
Right.
Like it's a fact that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And my point being is that like the sea of potential that manifested you and me and the floor and the grass and shit, like, is alive. And I know that, like, from direct experience. Like, I don't care how I sound anymore. It wants to get your attention, and it'll, like, when it gets your attention, it'll start leading you down a road to see it, because that's the whole reason we exist. God wants to be known, because that's what makes him God, and that's what lets him love. Like, he's not loving unless he's engaging in this relationship that, you know, and we're, you know, a two-bit whore when we diss him by ignoring the present moment all of our lives.
being able to see that influence and see that hand, what do you think he's doing? How much control?
He's creating himself.
Does he? Do you believe in free will?
Not exactly.
So, I guess that's kind of a hard question, huh?
No, it's not. Okay, so the quick answer is that God's doing everything, and the only reason anybody can move and do anything, and I can speak right now, is because He's doing it. Like the neural synapses in my brain are controlled by synaptic fluid that is spinning around, and as the positives and negatives line up, it makes a charge. Like when you go, or at least when you used to go to go to college to be a brain scientist, that's one of the things they teach you, and they ask you to deal with it philosophically. That's part of going to brain school, whatever, spacing out what they call it, neurology. If you want to be a neurologist, I guess.
I like brain school better.
Your brain is being fluid, and you can't think a thought without these particles lining up positive and negatively to create the charge. Are you actually in control of your thoughts?
Right.
And so my answer is that God's the one generating everything, and that we're just witnesses observing what He created.
Where my confusion is coming is okay, if he's controlling it all, what's He teaching us? It's more like He's teaching Himself at that point.
Well, what did I say? He's creating Himself.
Okay, I got you.
But the act of Him creating Himself is an act of love.
So it's
because if the sea of potential didn't love itself, it would have just stayed isolated and never manifested. The fact that it broke free into space and embodied something and became something else proves that it was love.
Okay.
But
okay.
Yeah. Free will is a funny topic. I used to have a whole nother spiel on it. I used to say God's doing everything, but your experience of choice and your accountability for what you choose to do is just as real.
I guess where I'm still hung up, I guess, is what is the objective? I know you said he's he's manifesting himself in that regard. Well, but the way I'm understanding it, it's kind of like looking in a mirror. He is both observed and observer. So.
Well, I genuinely think that He's trying to create people to hang out with Him for eternity.
So
that's how the Bible points it out, is that God's not just to be God, just to sit in a room by Himself. He wants to hang out with people, and so He's basically going through this whole process to create eternal beings that hang out with Him forever.
So we coexist with it separately, and we don't merge back. Sort of.
So the vision that I did have, it was 7 wheels. I went and found, dude, after I had that vision, that's how I found that Rinpoche book about Tibetan meditation. I was always fuck chakras, that's some bullshit. And, so I had this vision, and it was realer than this, which I'm still answering your question about the rabbis. But, and so it was the realest thing that I ever experienced. And it was such a strange place. And it taught me so much for 20 years. It's been 20 years. And I've learned so much still to this day from that experience. It's a fucking bizarre thing. But so there's 7 wheels, and inside of each wheel is an ocean of light of pure color, and it's pulsating ocean waves out, and the wheels are spinning, the inside wheel one way, the outside wheel the other, and it's the water's dripping into the wheels, and there's light in the wheels, and it's spinning so fast. That there's advanced geometry in between the 2 wheels. I've never seen anything like it. And then it's coming out of the other wheel, the outside wheel, as rays of light. And so each wheel is doing this, and so it's this glittering thing. And it's like a kid's toy when you spin it, sort of, and it's making the image of a man meditating, and it's also making the image of the mountain. And one of the things it wanted to let me know is that I'm the source of light, I'm the source of existence, and I can become anything I want to. I can move in and out of all things at will. And that was very clear that it was telling me that.
Have you ever seen a Mandelbrot set?
I don't know.
Phil, can you Google Mandelbrot set for me?
I don't have my phone.
Ah, shit. Where's your phone?
But
is it dead?
So
it probably is actually dying. Just
Oh man.
Well,
Okay, I'll show you later. A Mandelbrot set, and it's not gonna. It'd be so much better if I could show it to you. But a Mandelbrot set is like. Forgive me, Alice. I'm not a mathematician. This is a real layman way of explaining this, and I'm probably wrong. But it's the visual representation, like you have a sequence of numbers that will repeat a stable pattern, and then you have numbers that will go off in unstable patterns into blast off into infinity. Okay, so a Mandelbrot set is a visual representation of the border between stable numbers and non-stable numbers. So, and the shape it makes is that of a man in a meditative stance, like a Buddha. It looks like the Buddha.
Yeah,
and
I wasn't into meditating. You know what I mean? Like that shit changed my life. Like, and I didn't expect it to. You know, because I've been on a Christian journey. You know, and like God forced these two cultures into one thing by seeking answers through His Word. Which, if God's done that to me, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, like, you know, the Bible's some other shit for me. Like, people can't even understand me half the time when I talk about it, you know. And I try to make it so simple, but
well, it's a very simple and it's a very complicated thing.
But it tuned me into the language and the pattern that these rabbis were, writing the Torah and the rest of the Bible. You know, they have a system of patterns and a way of layering information into it, and it led to this Eastern meditation practice. And if God could lead me on this journey for 40, you know, I started reading the Bible when I was 7, you know, then that's obviously what He did to the people that wrote the Bible.
When you say,
and you know, and I think they really, when they say they got it from God, I think they really did. Regardless of whether any of it's historically true or not. The book is so much more meaningful than worrying about was the past real.
Would you, at this point, would you consider yourself a Christian? Okay. So
absolutely.
When you say God,
but I don't like to, you know, what I say a Christian is not what's going on in these churches typically.
Oh, absolutely.
So
there's a different Christian. Yes, there's real Christians and there's fair weather Christians. There's people who study the Bible and try to follow Jesus's footsteps.
No, man, you know, fuck all that. Love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, gentleness, meekness, those things are what a Christian is. If they're produced in your heart and you live a life to protect those virtues, all the things that they said would happen to you in the Bible will happen to you, and you could never know any of those proper nouns or stories and live this experience knowing Jesus Christ. Oh, wow, yeah, I've seen that before.
So it's not quite...
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. And this is a fractal. You can zoom in on this.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I like the videos to where they'll just keep falling through it. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
So you can find a video of it. Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah, but that people just kind of stumbled across that, and it's one of those things that's, I don't know, it's a very specific weird shape.
No, that's cool. That's fascinating. I didn't know it had anything to do with math outside of that fractals were based on mathematic principles. That's all I knew.
So it's funny, they discovered the Mandelbrot set before computers were able to visually represent it that way.
Oh wow.
So I mean, because you can have a Mandelbrot zoom in infinitely as long as you want your computer to sit there and process it. There are 10-hour videos of Mandelbrot zooming in, and it can go on infinitely.
Oh wow.
It's pretty fun. What's interesting is it'll repeat the same patterns every once in a while, but not all the time.
Yeah.
But they discovered these before, or they discovered this before computers could visualize it. So they just had, they would enter binary or whatever, enter the sequence, and it would print out just a bunch of gray dots or black dots. So like they got like a rough shape of it, kind of.
Oh wow!
Just in these like grids.
It's funny, man.
Yeah.
Like the message is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to
It
get
reminds
clearer.
me. We were talking about that movie Pi the other day.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
reminds me
that
of
stuff was on to it, like, but it, you know, it was a movie too.
Yeah, yeah. It's also
like it, you know, if it turned him into like, you know, Zinni the Pooh, and he's like, you know, he's like, life is illusion.
Zinni the Pooh.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Like, but no, it like made him lose his shit, you know, like the real presence of God. Like, I don't know, like when I get to explaining like all of this divinity and how like it's this and this and this, and I can just like keep comparing it to things in life, like, I don't know, it's the way it was written.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel a little crazy. You know?
Well, further down the craziness, let's just completely go bonkers, like, because I'm trying to get where you're at. Like, and I feel like you've already done a really good job explaining this already.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say God,
mm-hmm.
I know what you mean. I know what you're describing. You've laid it out really well.
Mm-hmm.
What, like, where do you put Yahweh in all of that? Because you're not talking about Yahweh necessarily, except if you are talking about Yahweh, it's a very like tetragrammaton, like authentic, just a understanding of the universe, kind of, not a personal God.
No, like Elohim created heaven, earth. Elohim means judge, you know, like back to like the sea of potential, like isolated, it's in a form of rigidity. Like if there's nothing to judge, how can he be judged, right? Like if there's nothing to love, how can you say he loved? Oh, well, he loved himself. Well, you know.
So do you?
He had the potential to love, but there's no object to love.
You
like
okay, so
but Jehovah means self-existent one. You know, so the self-existence one, you know, created existence and gave it to something else and judged it. Is like sort of how the words play out. And
it is a bunch of it's all just wordplay.
Well,
I mean, not what you're saying is wordplay, but the names.
Moses is like, what do I tell him your name is? And he says, I am that I am, or I will be what I will is my favorite translation. Right. But because it's the symbol, you know, the image I saw in the vision, you know, that's what it was saying. I'll be whatever I want, you know, I'll be everything and nothing all at once. Like, you know, that's what it was communicating. So when God says, I will be what I will be, ultimately being is a form of existence, which means that it's conscious. And that's back to I'm a judge. Like, you can't be judged without being conscious.
Okay.
You know, it takes consciousness. Like, so my whole argument is that God is consciousness. And he's embodying this material world through everything to perceive himself. Like,
so we are the only eyes.
That in the Bible directly says that we are the eyes of the Lord.
Oh shit! So there is
like,
there is no
thing.
eye in the sky. It's only eye here.
No, I think there is an eye in the sky. Like, because it describes it this way. You know, sea of potential. The rain comes down, it hits the form, and it comes back up. You know.
So he just wants many ways of saying it.
Well, the nature of what manifested the universe. Like, it comes out from itself and embodies something else, and comes out from itself and embodies something else. Right. And so it's like this energy can't stop from doing that. And so that's what it wants to do. It wants to be fruitful and multiply. And like anywhere that God's presence goes, that's what he's going to do. And when you stop fertility, you stop multiplication, you stop diversity, differentiation, and integration, when you stop that, like, that's when you persecute God, persecute Jesus Christ. That's how all suffering enters the world. You stop integrating between rigidity and chaos, and you go to one or the other. And it's like, that's the modern map of mental health. It's a stream of the flow of energy and information, like, and the ability to integrate between rigidity on one side and chaos on the other. Like, and all mental illness in the DSM manual, you know, like, is a form of rigidity or chaos or a combination of both.
Wow. Like,
and this is like the cutting edge neurobiologists talking about it, you know. That's where I get this from. But that's a model of God. And like, it gets so much deeper, dude. Like, so like I'm trying to figure out how to really say this thing about God being presence and consciousness.
So,
you know,
I don't know if this is going to help at all, but I want it might not. But before we get too far, I want to take a step back because I had another question. You said Elohim, which I'm glad that you brought that up because that gets me thinking about. So I mean, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was that God interacted with people as Elohim in Scripture, and then at some point he starts interacting with them through a different name.
Genesis 1:1 is Elohim. Genesis 2, I think it's like verse 2. It's somewhere in chapter 2. Like they use the word Yahweh.
Okay.
And it's just like out of the blue, you know. Like I mean, I don't think anything's just out of the blue in there. There's so many patterns in the words that they use.
So
like, it's pretty nuts. But
so do you correlate the two?
I think that I don't make a differentiation between any of the names of God in Scripture outside of maybe more of an implication towards judgment on one end and more of an implication towards presence on the other between Elohim and Yahweh. Okay. You know.
And I guess there are some.
But judgment is like saying focusing on an object. And that's what God's doing with us. Well, He's focusing on us.
It's like truer names than like Danny and Alex. It's a name describing what it is.
That's a great point. Dan L. Like so you got L over here, and now you got something produced by L that's Dan L. Like L Jr.
Shit.
You know, like so they're expressing this very thing that I'm describing about creation and manifestation of reality. That they're like just with the way they name their names.
I got you.
That's what all those names that end in L. That's what they mean of L or of God, right?
Yeah, and then like the other word plays on it. Daniel is a dope name. Like not to sound conceited. Like I mean I study Bible, you know. So it's like, but Dan means judge, L means judge, so it's judge, which is superlative of judgment. It means like divine judgment. It's a cool fucking name.
Nice.
That's so Libra.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, like my name's Daniel Michael, as a matter of fact. And now that like the Torah has been like open to me and the whole Bible's been open to me, like it kind of freaks me out that that's my name. Honestly, like God, it's so weird.
What is Michael mean?
He was the archangel that fought for God. So he was probably the angel with the flaming sword, like on a few occasions, including keeping man out of the presence of God. But that was all symbolism for time, which we get to that.
I had a guest on the podcast a few weeks ago. Shout out to Dasa. We were talking about
Krishna guy.
Yeah. We were talking about What were you just saying?
Huh?
Where were we just at?
The Michael names. Yeah.
Oh,
Archangel.
Yeah. And I didn't realize this till that conversation, but it's only Jehovah's Witnesses that correlate Jesus and Michael, and I guess a few other. I thought that was like
Daniel, the book speaks of Ancient of Days, you know, and it's sort of this like heroic God figure for mankind, but it's like an embodied mortal. Almost like there's so many different theories, but it's interesting because some people will say he's Michael and some people will say he's Jesus.
Okay, so this isn't just. There are other denominations of Christians that follow that idea.
It's around, is what I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you. So speaking of other ideas around, like you don't subscribe to different names applying to different deities, but there are some scholars that would make a distinction between Elohim and Yahweh. What do you think about that?
Well, El was not just a Hebrew word. Like that was a Canaanite word for God that was used in general for all kinds of other gods. Like like so when I say I don't differentiate between titles of God, I mean specifically in context to the whole Bible.
Got it.
You know.
Got it.
Like so, kind of supreme Lord that's spiritual over the characters in the stories, like is referring to.
It doesn't really matter what you call him.
You know.
Yeah.
Like.
No, I'm with you. Like I I don't know. Maybe I'm getting caught up on the name thing too much, but like,
well, there is that one scripture that says that to Yahweh, or it says that the sons of Israel or sons of Abraham were given to Yahweh, and that the portions of man were given to the to some heavenly beings. So, and it specifically just mentions Yahweh. So like.
Yeah, I'd have to see that, but no, that's right in line with the story. That's right in line with the whole narrative. God took that particular people to himself.
So, yeah,
to
I think
fuck with them. Just like I'm saying, like the rabbis who wrote it, like they got fucked with in the same way. So they're writing a story about God fucking with people in the same way.
I think you answered my question really well earlier when you said that Elohim was a catch-all name for God that the Canaanites used. So that answer.
Did they use it in Egypt too? I think it might have even been in Egyptian use at some point. I'm not positive.
I didn't know.
I'd have to check.
But that pretty much clears it up for me. That like, okay, so this is a catch-all God, and then Yahweh is specifically Israelite God.
Psalms 17 or 18, 19, somewhere in there. There's a description of Yahweh as the storm god. You know, he's riding on the clouds, he's thunder and lightning, he's raining hell down. You know, and that was how they described Baal, his counterpart in Canaanite. Like, you know, at the time. So they're describing God of Israel just like they describe Baal, and that takes you to like the men of Mars Hill. Oh, here, let me tell you about this God over here on your shelf. You know, let me tell you, like, I'm going to tell you a story about the real God through this image of your God. And like Jesus said, I am the way. Like that had been in use by the cult of Pan for like 300 years. So, you know, and it goes on and on. There's it's a big thing in Scripture, you know, and they're basically just communicating to people in a way they can understand. It's not nefarious. We're not worshiping demons, you know. It's like, like I didn't write it, you know. But God is depicting himself through the lens of pagan gods, and that's one of the reasons I get so mad when these Christians start condemning Hinduism and Buddhism and New Agers and occultists. It's all the
same guy.
Like, because they didn't do that in the Bible. The only people they rebuked were the people saying, I'm the fucking voice of Jehovah, and they were full of shit, and they were living for themselves, the religious. These are the only people they rebuked. Like, and I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but anywhere there's love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, gentleness, meekness, goodness, like that's where Jesus is. That's where the Holy Spirit is, and that's where the presence of God is, because that's the nature of the sea of potential. It wants to generate life.
And it might not necessarily be in the church. It might be in the brothel, depending on the vibe.
No, like, I mean, you know, like, you know, you go to see a hooker and she starts, like, there's a real spiritual connection. She starts crying, telling you about her whole life problems, and you just listen to her. You know, and you're uplifting to her instead of, you know, paying her for sex. And like, sure, like that's real spirituality, like, and it's real growth away from darkness towards light. And
not that you couldn't get something useful out of going to church, but I was more making a point that spirituality isn't found necessarily just there. There are so many avenues.
Well, so when these people condemn these types of Hinduism and Buddhism and whatever, you know, they're actually persecuting the spirit of kindness that these people have in their hearts instead of servicing it.
Right.
You know, so they're tearing down the God they confess to serve by treating people like Buddhists are awesome. Like Hinduism, like is like extremely amazing. Like they're like, sure, they get religious too. You know, and I wouldn't have believed it till I like saw it. You know, but Buddhists, like there are Buddhists out there that will get just as fucked up religious and hating other people for not being Buddhist and the whole religion trap. Like any religion will have the religion trap culture, you know, because we have it and you don't.
Yep.
And that consequently also means you don't have it.
Yeah, I think you're the kind of guy that you would have come to this conclusion whether you were in the Western world or whether you were in the Eastern world. Like no matter what, you would have found this nugget of truth in Hinduism. You would have found it in Buddhism. Yeah. Because like
it's what there though, you know, getting it from where I did get it, I can see it over there.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was just because what you're describing sounds like Shiva. It's he takes on many different forms. To the wicked, Shiva, meek Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
He's the boy, the blue boy. He takes on the form of Narasimha to the wicked. He's a man-eating lion.
Loki is the blue boy. In the whole plot of the first episode of Loki,
shit.
That's what they're saying. They're like, you were created to make these people better. It's like showing in the Avengers, you are that evil that's here for a great purpose to make these people
that's
great.
Fucking dope.
And it's true.
It's true.
It's true. And that's exactly what the Bible says, that God created them to use them to generate life through the people that know Him and see Him and are led by Him.
Tyr would have no
and God's speaking through all things, and that's why synchronicity is crazy. That's how God speaks, and I have stuff to say about that. But yeah, God's speaking through synchronicity.
I was just saying, Tyr and these other Norse gods, they'd have no legacy if Loki hadn't dicked around and caused a problem to begin with.
It's crazy that she was a blue boy doing the same damn thing.
Yeah, you're blowing my fucking mind.
Yeah,
because Loki isn't a Asgardian. What is he? He's
the blue people.
He's giant. He's a frost giant, I think.
Yeah, I forget what they call him. But there was a funny joke in there, because they're interviewing him, and he's like, "I'm from Midgard." They're like, "So Earth." Like, I'm sorry. It was really funny. I was like, "Damn, it's funny."
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your next question, Alex?
So okay. You answered my question about the names. And it really is, names aren't important, but I guess I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
After Yahweh is mentioned in Scripture, is Elohim just completely done away with?
No, they're throughout.
So Elohim
throughout the whole the Old Testament.
Okay.
And there's a group of academics called it's a type of Hebrew textual criticism, and it's called source criticism. And that's how they separate they chop up the Torah and all of the Old Testament books, more or less. And it's like the guys that were using Elohim wrote this part, and the guys that used Jehovah wrote this part, and then later guys came along and put them together. But that you can't. I don't hold any stock in that. And I'm not for it or against it. If you start to read these people's evaluation of the literature, you will be smarter.
Well,
you know what I mean. You will learn a lot from it, whether what they're saying is right or not. These are experts in Hebrew linguistics. You know, you can learn something from these motherfuckers, and they're convinced that the Bible was written by tons of different rabbis over hundreds of years, and it was a complete development that continued, and they just layered it. And I'm inclined to believe that that's true, because the Gematria thing, to where they've got the spelling of these words that make number patterns that are expressed through the story and lead you to attach, associate things that do go together. It's like a guide of interpretation. It's like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah,
how the fuck did they do that? And then Leviticus, it's the story of building the temple, and doing the Day of Atonement, and the story is written in the shape of the temple, and that's through a chiastic pattern, which is a circular story. And basically, they'll talk about this, then they'll talk about this, then they'll talk about this, and then they'll talk about the same thing, and then the thing in the middle, and then the thing at the beginning. So it makes a circular story.
Wow.
And they tell Leviticus the way that they associate those sections. If you fold it in half, the scroll, the facing parts go together, and they're in the shape of a temple.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Mary Douglas, she wrote a book called Thinking in Circles, and she's a famous anthropologist that wasn't religious, but all of her colleagues in the academic world, she's a famous academic. She's amazing. All of her books are fucking amazing. They'll blow your mind. And she was a cult and ritual expert, and she got into Hebrew literature to the point to where she's seeing those patterns. God, I wish I could have met her. She died about 8 years ago, I guess. But
that's crazy,
what an amazing lady. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's how did it get to that point?
Yeah.
When I write, I try to start at a starting point, but then it's I need to say this, 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 and so I just keep separating ideas, and then I start fitting them together, and then I start going through it again, and like connecting things and learn, you know. So I see how that develops, but like to the point that they took it, you know.
Yeah.
Probably was a groups of rabbis over hundreds of years that were sitting around talking like we're talking, so they were probably a little smarter. But
that's such a different way from like how I write too, because when I'm when I'm constructing a story, it is a very organic thing. It is not a lot of, I mean, obviously I do put some forethought into it, but it's mostly like I learn who these characters are as I'm writing it, and like I learn this story as it goes, and like to do something like that, to build in a blueprint in such a way is like a type of storytelling that is so like beyond my comprehension. Like that is something that would take years and years of planning before you ever put ink to paper. That is like you'd have to have the entire thing flawlessly executed before you ever did it.
Yeah, it's insane. And you know, and so God really might have just been like, hey, Moses, come hang out with me on this mountain and write this shit down, you know. Like maybe that shit really did happen.
Smoke some acacia bush DMT like, and come meet me.
Yeah, God only caught on fire after we like disassociated from our connection to all things to glorify ourselves and to be individuals. That's when God caught on fire. Seriously. Like in the middle of the fiery tornado, he's not burning you no more, you know, because that's where stillness is.
So every time we burn herb or like consume drugs, it's just God smoking himself. He's just getting high on that God.
Nah, like marijuana is cool because it helps you feel your whole body, you know, like which calms you down because that's presence, you know. Like if we were living healthy lives with presence without resistance, like, you know, so complaining about American infrastructure, but like we probably wouldn't even need it, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's because our whole society's like sick that we do these things to connect with spirituality. You know, it's like, dude, you can literally go talk to God through a tree and a flower. Right. Like, I mean, you don't have to go anywhere to talk to God, but I mean, you can experience his essence through the manifestation of anything, you know. And then like what makes you conscious is what gives that thing its form. So you can actually connect to anyone because that's also their consciousness manifested as form. Like
this,
it's a weird thing, but like there's like reality to this shit, like, you know. And there's a whole lot of amazing people on Earth right now that are all talking about this same thing, like from different angles.
A lot of amazing people at a really pivotal time in history. Yeah.
No, like Armageddon's fixing to go down, and either a conscious humanity will emerge or nothing, you know.
This is kind of related, but it's also totally out in left field. I would say specifically with DMT, I've had experiences of oneness and understanding that we are all one thing. That being said, on and off of other psychedelics, I have met individual spirits. I have met Satan in the flesh. I have met a myriad of different constructs, all individual with personalities. So it's hard to hold both of those things in your head, because there's also this idea that these plants themselves, like marijuana, like salvia, like psilocybin containing mushrooms, like Amanita muscaria, that these drugs themselves have entities that live inside of them. And people claim to, like, there's one called Ayaboga. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it's specifically it's a nightmare, hellish trip every time. It's specifically hell. And people meet this goddess, this wicked goddess, who is Ayaboga. She is Ayaboga. And she tells you this. I've never done it, but I mean, this is a really common thing where she explains that she lives within the headspace that the plant induces, and that's her realm, and she's evil. She shows people evil every time.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
like that's a funny way of putting it, because it's like she's like, I've taken over your body.
yeah,
It's like what she say. Like,
yeah. Ayahuasca's like, I don't think anyone ever has good trips on it. It's specific, like people do it to have profound revelations, and like
energy's supposed to pass through your body. So anytime you hold on to energy, the good and the bad, it leads to suffering.
yeah,
You know, because you're trying to hold it. Like when you lose the love, because it's gonna go away. That feeling, you know, like your attachment to it will cause suffering. But if you just let energy flow freely through you, like, then you just are experiencing it, which, like, you know, sounds really, you know, sounds lame just saying it, but like experiencing energy inside of your body is one of the most fulfilling things you can do. And, you know, like, it's funny because like people that know what I'm talking about are just like gonna be like, yeah, and then like people that just don't have a clue, like, gonna be like fruitcake, you know, like,
my 7-year-old brain like took it to like getting cummed inside or something.
No, like, I mean,
That's
that's
about sticking a fork in the light
God's dick
socket.
inside.
no,
you.
but that's like the whole depiction. Like, you know, you got to see a potential, like its essence comes out from itself and enters the primordial sea of chaos and generates life.
God is fucking
Like in this,
himself.
but this
Yeah.
is sexual union.
Yeah.
Like, duh, you know. And then he makes Adam and Eve, which he's the personification of the sea of potential, and she's the personification of the sea of chaos. And what
Yeah.
do? They come together and produce life, just like.
And how
The
painful is
first second.
separation, you know?
Yeah.
To like when like,
That's why
when-
nobody wants to be alone, because the sea of potential without anywhere to manifest, it was like, fuck that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going
Right.
to be alone forever. Like, that's part of its juju.
even the
Yeah.
the biggest introvert you know, recluse,
Mm-hmm.
we need I think those people still find contact either
Mhm.
through internet, or even if they don't do that,
Mm-hmm.
through the characters in their programs, you know, through their books.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding ways to stay connected.
Mm-hmm.
And
No, it's a type of suffering those people experience.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, and a lot we
They-
want to suffer a lot of the
they
time.
want it, yeah.
We want
like,
to suffer.
and we all do. Like, as long as you keep perpetuating your own suffering, you want it. Because you've identified with it. You say, oh, they did that to me, and they did
Yeah.
me wrong, and that hurt me, and this pain is me. Like, but it's not you. And the second you let go of it, dude, all of those ideas about yourself it's sand, dude, and you can just blow it away. Like, and that fast, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and if you keep practicing, like, you get really, like, fast at it, you know? Like, in the transcendental aspect, like, it's like you're just turning the volume down on thoughts, you know?
Mhm.
Like, and the less you pay attention to your thoughts, like, the quieter they get.
You're kind of touching at something we were talking about the other day. You're kind of explaining to me that like you don't have to hold on to how you feel. You can choose to associate with how you currently feel, and not only attach yourself to the
Mhm.
present moment.
No,
So it's like I am hungry, so that's what I am. But I'm also, if I'm
Mhm.
happy, I'm happy. If I'm sleepy, I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
And like only in that moment. And then when you're not
Mm-hmm.
when you're not angry anymore,
Mhm.
you're stop being angry.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that
You let the energy
persist.
pass through you.
Yeah.
So you get angry, it'll dissipate. Just if you just wait quietly, it'll go away. You know, like, and there's actually stuff you can do to, like, quicken that. But like, if you say, "Oh fuck, I hate people. I just want to hurt people," then
You're
you're
just hurting
feeding.
yourself.
You're
Yeah.
feeding the energy, and it grows.
Yeah.
And then it starts coming out your mouth.
But
And then it starts generating anger in you to feed itself too.
and the problem is
You know?
that can be addictive. That kind of suffering
It-
can be like talking from personal experience.
Mhm.
That burn,
Mm-hmm.
that directed.
You want it.
Yeah.
I am right to be mad.
Right.
You know, like,
Mhm. And for some people, like
I am right. What's that? That's Elohim. Judge.
Yeah.
Judgment. My judgment. I judgment.
yeah.
You know? Like, we're not supposed to be doing that
Right.
because it was judged and it manifested all this shit. We're supposed to accept it like Jesus accepted the cross.
I got you.
And like we accept the sentence of death. You know, it's like just accept it.
Damn.
Like, surrender to it.
Fuck,
because
bro.
it's the will of God.
Fuck, man. That's some deep shit.
Bible's deep, man. Like, I don't make this shit up. Like,
it's no, I mean, no, you don't. It's years of research coming to these conclusions.
Like, literally, dude, like, fucking, I mean, like, just, like, laying in bed with stacks of books for hours, for years. Like, it's crazy.
That's like...
I don't even know why I did it, dude. Like,
you know, it's funny, like, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but that's like... I mean, I feel this way with a lot of my friends, actually. But that's our entire relationship, is just talking about nerd shit, just nerding out about the Bible, you know?
Yeah. No, and that's healthy, though, because that's integration. We're integrating. Like, we don't have to be the same.
I'm learning
a lot.
like,
I don't believe in talking to Satan, necessarily. You know? Like, you talk to Satan, that's fine. Yeah. You know? Like, it doesn't bother me one bit. It's your ride.
Right. And I think,
like, how's that working out? You know?
Like, coming together and clashing heads, it's kind of, I mean, not even clashing, like,
it's just like, integrating.
Well,
through differences.
No homo, but it's like Adam and Eve, right? Like, it's two people coming together.
It is, no, like, and, like, I mean, like, the Bible is about that. Like, literally about that. Like... You know, like, and it's heads, the ancient heads, like, still infecting the world. They were so powerful at infecting energy information that it's still going way after they're long gone.
And you know what? You're a big part of this too, Alice, because, like, your participation in this, you know, taking your time to listen to those rant about random nonsense, like, that's part of it also. Like, I don't know, that's why we keep coming back here to the Mad Tea Party, because I think it never, like, for me, it's not any delusions of grandeur or self-importance, but I think these type of conversations are important. Not specifically that the conversations I'm having are uniquely important, but just people coming together and having philosophical...
Any difference.
Yeah.
Like, the more different, the better. See, like, it doesn't matter what is being discussed. If, like, I have a totally opposite view than you, which we have similar views. Yeah. But if we can integrate, like, being really different, like, say we had a, like, Southern Baptist sitting here, you know, that was, like, all about Jesus, which I was at the barbershop today, and, like, the guy's like, praise Jesus. I'm just like, you know, and I hate
that
to
means
say
a
that
different thing.
Yeah, like, I'm like,
it does to me.
Yeah. But no, like, the more people can integrate through differences, the better the information will come out of it. So it's like, you see, like, it'll shut down if we become rigid or we become chaotic. No, you can't think that, and you can't be that. That's rigid. Well, so the conversation goes to shit. Or too chaotic, I'm getting mad at you, and now I've become stupid, because it does make you stupid. And no good conversation. But if they can integrate being extremely different, those will be the best conversations.
Well, Danny, if you had told that guy, if you had said...
No, I had thought about it.
Actually, praise doesn't belong to Jesus, it belongs to the Father, and that's actually kind of blasphemic to Jesus, what you're saying.
No,
like,
I don't believe
that wouldn't have been very Christian, would it?
No, none of it would be.
To correct you on that.
No, but, like, I was marveled at, you know, like, his whole experience of religion is built out of this identity of, you know, like, he'd just gotten out of church, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and he was just, like, I mean, I've known those people that are just like, I love you, Jesus, all the time, you know. And, like, like, I feel like Jesus is on my back all the time, you know. Yeah. Like, and not in a negative way. I mean, it's just like, like, his presence is always there.
Not necessarily like negative judgment, but judgment.
Like, it's a spirit.
Like, what you do matters.
It's a spirit, and, like, you're either, like, producing it and helping it grow, or you're making it go away, which is the whole aspect of a curse that starts in Genesis and goes through the whole Bible. It's, you know, God, like, a curse means to drive something out. So when God drove a portion of himself out, that's a type of curse. Hence, curse has a form of magic, you know, like, and not necessarily always negative. Like, but then, you know, he creates chaos and then forms life in it. And then, like, here comes the serpent, you know, like, and he seduces Eve, and so they're like, fuck God. So they're cursing God, driving his presence out of themselves, you know? And then God's like, okay, well, you know, if you're going to do that, then you're going to go away from me. And he kicks them out. So it's this back, forth, back, forth. The whole Bible is about this tandem of cursing and driving something in and out of each other.
It's a recurring theme.
Yeah, it is right now. Like, we're doing it. It's so crazy.
That's like, well, I don't know. It's duality. It's the yin and the yang, right? Like, cause
yeah, I mean, that's what generates life, man.
What I love about that symbol,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's a bit of black within the white, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of white within the black.
Yeah.
And it's like, me and my friend were actually talking about, he thinks after this phase
Mm-hmm.
of reality,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, he thinks after this phase of reality, we're not going to get peace, but the next phase will be harsher, because he thinks, like, basically this was created to achieve,
Like, it's like leveling up, surviving through difficulty, so to speak.
like we're here
Adversity.
to understand what Jesus had learned.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That nugget of wisdom
Yeah, they're unconscious.
was the point of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So he thinks we're going to experience harsher, we're going to continue to experience harsher cruelty
Mm-hmm.
to glean deeper nuggets of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that will find purer light in the deepest pits of darkness.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what's going on now.
Yeah. I think, yeah, if you take it literally, that's literally what's happening, is the world continues to get darker, but we find
Greater
out
light.
more.
Humanity may head to some Star Trek shit
Yeah.
to where we've organized the production of all things, and we put our lives all in a symmetrical balance. I mean, like, when I say our lives, I mean, like, what is it? The way we produce, like, buildings and shit, you know, and the way we structure agriculture and shit. We could have it all working together seamlessly to where nobody had to do anything but sit around and meditate and cultivate creativity. And humanity could reach that point.
Yeah.
You know, all these people that say it's not possible have never experienced presence through meditation.
Yeah.
But everybody that experienced presence through meditation, well, you don't even have to meditate. You just have to, like, learn to be conscious all the time.
So,
Like, you know, but everybody that experiences that, like, wakes up and they're like, oh, yes, this could happen for humanity. You know?
I'm interested in expanding on what you just said. So let's take it there. Like, politically, how would we get to that place, though? Like, are you
From when all these psychopaths finishes killing each other, you know, from its ashes will rise a conscious society.
What's that look like, though? Are you talking about?
I wonder. No, I often fantasize about it, but I don't know.
Do you think? I guess we're
But-
getting really off subject here,
Yeah.
but do you?
Nothing is off subject.
Do you? I'm interested, based on what you said. Would that be a world without capitalism?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But you know, I mean, let them hold on to their money. Like, just stop putting people to death without it. That would be a milestone of a human achievement right
Okay.
there. You know?
So
That's the whole Bible's beef with money.
So
The mark of the beast is money. Mark is a word for coin.
So you're not
You know,
you're not even
beast
really
was
saying that
Rome.
we're going to get to a point where there isn't capital and, like, a form of currency in exchange, but
The Venus Project. All hail the Venus Project. A bunch of super smart scientists have been talking about this for since the 70s, and they've got with the greatest minds, and they've structured a whole another approach. But they call it a resource-based economy, and basically everyone that's alive has an equal share of the resources. They envision a world where animatronics do all of our work, you know, but the people that built these machines are talking about this shit. You know what I mean? Like, the people that are pushing for this industrial age where robots are doing everything are also trying to free society. It'll probably work like GMOs. Oh, we'll solve hunger. Oh, we solved it, but capitalism is in the way, you know. But
yeah, capitalism is not perfect by any means.
but a resource-based economy where everybody has a
Okay.
share of the resources, you know, and so they envision a supercomputer that real-time calculates how much resources on Earth, you know.
That's
so if you and me want to start a trucking business, you know, then we'd need enough people to supply the gas together, collaborate together to have the resources to do something bigger than just your life, kind of thing, you know.
It's called a planned economy. It's not quite. It's not even really communist. What it is, it's an allocation based on of an AI AI, a super sophisticated AI.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they're imagining like, you know, drones and shit like are bringing you your eggs in the morning. Like I like to take their scenario and then change it from robots to animals, you know, to where we just work with animals in nature all the time. Like we could have like birds watering our garden and shit, bringing us food. We could be going up to the beach and blowing the conch shell, and the little dolphin sled pulls up. And I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, my grandfather trained Shamu the whale. Like he was trained.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, we gotta talk about this now.
I never told you about this. Well, he was training sea lions for the military to operate sea mines, turn them on and off, and take them to different locations. They sold that project to the Russians when the Cold War ended to help them clear up the Baltic Sea or whatever, like, or the Black Sea.
What the fuck?
Yeah. But he had a colleague that was training pelicans to drop bombs on targets and training pelicans how to like. You can get animals to do anything because they want to work with humans because they have the nature of God that wants to come out and embody other things. And like, I wanted to take that somewhere. So neurobiologists developed a meditation type exercise to integrate your brain. You know, like being compassionate and empathetic involves all parts of your brain. Like your neural fires will go into like your whole brain when you're doing empathy plus compassion, you know? Like neurons that fire together, wire together, so it causes your brain to integrate and work together. And I think this is why people can't meditate, because their brains aren't integrated. So they're like, you know, they can't just be calm in the hub because they don't have a very well integrated brain. But so they developed an exercise, and so you listen for a minute, you pay attention, you're focusing your awareness on what you hear, then you see, then you smell, then you taste, then you feel your clothes, feel everything that's touching anything, and then you scan your body, you know, your bones and your skin slowly, you know, scan your whole body, like focusing, not being distracted. And then he'll use, you know, he laughs, he's like, sorry for cultures that think, you know, genitals is awkward, but he's like, feel your genitals, you know, and then he'll take your consciousness into your, you know, your lower intestines, and feel your stomach, and feel your esophagus, and feel the air go into your windpipe, and feel your lungs, and feel your heart.
Yeah.
And then he'll take you, he switched it up, he'll add the now take that point of awareness and turn it in on itself.
Oh shit.
Or retract it from itself, you know. So he's training you to be aware of how awareness extends out from a central hub and into other objects. Right. And I mean, like, this dude takes this stuff so far, but look,
how far does he take it?
He gets into spooky quantum theory and spooky entanglement.
Yeah, so
like, I mean, he takes it all the way there, macrocosm, microcosm states, and the relationship between the two, and he's actually saying, oh god, this shit is so deep. I don't want to spoil it, man. Like, how deep this shit is. But no, like, the hub of consciousness is the sea of potential, basically. Like, it's connected to the vacuum in which all energy arises from, you know? Like, that's what he's getting at. And when you look at that sea of potential, it has, in the beginning, God is the sea of potential, you know? Like, that's your consciousness. And he comes out from it, just like your awareness comes out from you and embodies something. Shit. Like, it embodies the earth. And so when your awareness focuses on something, it's generating life.
So this manifestation is an as above, so below.
Yeah, all of this shit comes out of
reenactment of how the universe was made.
And that's what every creature on the planet is doing. Because it is the essence of God. Doing what he did, doing what he did, doing what he did. He just keeps going in and out of all things. And I imagine the universe is like an infinite fractal of dimensions because of this rabbinic science, basically. Yeah. Like, I mean, these Mad Hatter rabbis seem to be trying to express this concept so hard. Like, for like 3,000 years of developing a literature of like, this really is like what God is doing. This is what life is. Like,
I think Hunter S. Thompson said it best. Reality is so much stranger than anyone's imagination. Like,
it's pretty far out.
You know, Elohim did create the universe, and that is true. No one can debate that. That is true. And you know what else is true? I did meet the devil in the flesh, and that is true. And we are all individuals, and that is true. Yet, all reality is God meditating, looking out back at himself. So all of that, all of those statements that is made are true, paradoxically.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the thing is, like, so the fruit of knowledge is experience. Duh, right? You know, so they had an experience that separated them from this presence of God.
Yeah.
You know, and her experience was, you know, all the food in my past that I have available to me now is not good enough. I am not good enough. Like, you know, oh, that would be better than what I have now. And I will be a god if I do what I want for myself. You know, that was the experience that isolated her from the presence of God. And the reason why it did that is because God is the source of life, life-giving itself. You know, just like everything that's good, like, you know, nothing would exist without it. If the seed of potential remained in a state of rigidity and never manifested, then no one would exist. So the very generation of life is an act of love. You know, so to contradict that dimension of love and giving life abundantly, you know, isolates you from his presence, which is like pulling his soul out of you, which is the primordial sea of chaos before God said, let there be light, and the sperm hit the egg. So you're becoming as dead as the sea without God's life in it, and thus you've paid allegiance to the primordial sea, who is now your God. And you're either worshiping and embodying the primordial sea of chaos, or the sea of potential that generates life.
And that's all it is. It's one or the other.
Whole Bible.
Yep.
And dude, I think everything we talk about is just energy. And everything that you've experienced and all these spirits and stuff, you just talk about energy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Dude, you explained that so well, and I hope you put that in your book.
Yeah, that's what I'm writing about.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what's going on.
The way you worded that is perfect. Cause
I'm taking it all the way into blood magic and showing how the whole blood ritual that the ancients were doing is expressing this.
I think all of us understand what you're saying intuitively, even children, like young children. They understand that if you act out, like, you know, I don't know, like, well, maybe I shouldn't say everyone, like, maybe not sociopaths, psychopaths, people with specifically that deficiency, but like,
I'm still thinking about all that.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not them. So, but like, it's like, but no, when you do something bad, you know it's bad, and you don't really understand why. You just know.
No, and it's like you're gonna find out why.
Yeah.
It's like you've decided you're gonna find out. It's a really good example of child deviance. You know, I know I'm not supposed to break this in front of my mom, but pow, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna see what she does. I'm gonna find out what happens. You know, like, they experience something that changes their reality.
Right.
You know, like the Lisa Feldman Barrett is a leading researcher in the biology of emotions. You know, and she's an amazing lady. She wrote some good books. Wish I could plug her title of her book, but she'll show you a picture of a blob, you know, like, and it's just a black and white image, and you just can't tell what it is, and she'll explain what your brain is doing while you're trying to look at it, you know, and how it's like millions of neurons are firing at once, trying to see what it was most like from your past, because that's all it can do. Right. You know, so it's trying to guess what this is most like, not what it is. And but then she'll show you a color picture of it, you know, to be a detailed photo, you know, and she'll be like, now I've given you knowledge, you've experienced knowledge that is now in your head that changed your experience. You can never go back to the blob picture and unsee the picture.
You see the picture now.
Yeah, and she chooses a snake, and she'll use examples when she's talking about apples, because she knows that this is what they were after, and she'll never say that she's religiously affiliated, like, but not even hint at it, but yet
she's low-key dropping snakes and apples.
Yeah, she's dope as fuck, and I love her, and I'm gonna put that in my book too.
That's fucking dope.
So why does God hate snakes and apples?
I think that's probably more about man, and it wasn't, and like there's no, like, it's not necessarily an apple at all, like,
right.
Like, and then, like, some people try to say it was a tangerine, and other people try to say, like, people say crazy shit about it, like, it's not the point,
right?
Like, the point was that she had an experience that's separated her from the nature of God. And what happened? She lived in another dimension. She realized she was naked, and
the fruit
death
was
enters.
the fruit was cunnilingus.
Yeah. So, no, but like to so basically thinking of yourself in the past and the future, like, and finding your identity in those things removes you from the present moment and the presence of God, and that's what it's depicting. It's a fucking parable. God damn.
Yeah.
So
it's like so obviously a parable that it's ridiculous. Like,
yeah. Yep.
So if God,
I feel the same way. It's frustrating how people don't see that.
and then it's like so deep.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's so crazy.
if God separated himself, if he was the sea of potential, and then they had an experience, somehow something happened and he separated himself or withdrew himself, and then there was chaos, then Eve basically pushing God out of her by committing that first sin was a reenactment of that.
Exactly.
So then there's nothing wrong with sin.
Well, like, that's where you're at in the game, you know? Like, I don't know, like, since my awakening, like, I've had a totally different outlook on my life. Like, nothing's about sin or compulsion anymore, you know what I mean? Like, I can have, like, a glass of wine and I don't feel guilty, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not really that interested in it all the time, but if I want to, I can, and it's just totally not about right and wrong anymore. Because I'm not under compulsion. I'm freely moving through the world and enjoying, like, being present, like, through every moment, you know? And, like, that's part of, like, getting prepared for the hard moments and the difficult people, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm going to enjoy being present then, too, I hope, you know? Like, that's the idea. Like, so it's all about maintaining presence and not about, like, sin necessarily. Like, but as far as, like, when she isolated herself from the Spirit of God, she paid allegiance to the primordial seed. You know, so when people in groups are isolated from presence, then they produce chaotic results that are hostile to life, that you can't live in it, you can't survive in it, which is why all these homes are broken and everybody's getting divorced and driving each other out from each other's presence, and because they're all children of chaos.
Yeah.
And dude, like, it's straight up like, you know, they're all outside the Mum-Ra temple with the fucking symbol on their forehead, bowing to this evil ass spirit. Like, you could take it like that. Like, that's an image of what is actually going on spiritually, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so in that sense, I mean, it's not necessarily sin. Like the character God describes real anger with making life uninhabitable. It was like, you know, I don't want to be alone, so I created the whole universe so I could enjoy presence and diversity, and now these people are just like, fuck that, we want to go back to the abyss, you know? It's like, so I mean, maybe there's something wrong with that, you know? Like, I don't want to diss the creative spirit that manifested me, because he's cool as fuck, like, number one, you know? And the destroyer just wants to go back to unconsciousness.
Why is it so cool to side with evil, and like why is
it make
why is rock and roll leather jackets
why is it making
skulls?
Because
it's
in our nature. God wanted it in the first place.
You nailed it. Like, God loved the chaos. Like, that's the whole thing. And I can totally relate to it. Like, you know.
So he's a twisted guy. Like, he's real fucked up.
He loves difference. If all he is light and goodness and
he
love,
loves contrast.
Yeah, he has to. You know,
extreme contrast.
He would love something that would be different than him. He would have to.
It's the whole paradigm, but
so there's a duality to everything.
The rabbis who wrote the whole Bible, because the whole thing, Old and New Testament, was a bunch of Jewish rabbis. Like, they were under the firm notion that God intended to heal the chaotic form and put it in order. Like, in that order and integration, chaos would be this beautiful thing.
But he created the womb to begin with. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. In order to heal it,
like this healing, loving progression and
like
development, and, like, you know, and it was to see him.
Have you ever
ultimately?
Have you ever heard of? It's called Kintsu Kudoi. It's a Japanese art style where they break vases.
Neato.
Like antique vases.
I just passed a pile of broken vases yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I didn't have my phone.
Synchronicity, man.
Yeah.
They smash vases, and then they they put all the pieces back together with gold.
Nice.
So they end up looking
Crazy.
better than they did originally.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. You break it and then...
Yeah, that's actually a great example, man. It's a nice twist on some negative verses. Paul says that the unconscious are natural brute beasts made to be taken and destroyed, and it's like destroyed and then made into something beautiful. It's like a nice spin.
Well, that's the best...
But it implies, like, that whole verse is implying that the beautiful thing that they're making is the people that, reject evil on their behalf, so to speak, are persecuted by them and love life anyways. Like, that is the beautiful thing they've become. So.
The, what was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say just now, but the other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is in general, I just wanted to talk to Alice about this, but have you seen Cruella?
Not yet.
Okay. I'll save that for next time. It is related to what we're talking about. Just to touch on it a little bit.
No, you can spoil it. That ain't no big deal.
Well, it's not spoilers, but this is a rabbit hole I'm going to take you down next week too, Alice. So Cruella DeVille. I don't think you can be any more on the nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just yesterday saw
Troll City.
This Karen
Mm-hmm.
ranting about the subliminal hidden satanic imagery in Cruella. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They could not... Like, okay, I guess minor spoilers. Her manor is called Hellman House.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes the man out of it and makes it Hell House. And like, her name is Cruel Devil. Yeah. How more on the nose? So I don't know. I feel like we just went through this with Lil Nas, with Montero. It's like, Lil Nas is using satanic imagery. Has anyone noticed? It's like, are you fucking kidding me? What? Like, that's the only thing to notice about this. There's not... What are you fucking talking about?
Like, all of the entertainment is a bunch of people suffering their egos. Like, it's all satanic, if you ask me.
Like I don't... Like, some people are going to feel a certain way about having satanic imagery in children's art, and I understand that. And some people are going to feel a different way about it. Some people are going to care, some aren't. But to say that it's so on the nose. Like, these people aren't hiding it. They're not masking. That's like a gorilla.
It's fucking Disney. Come on. Like, don't watch Disney. You don't like cultic pagan shit.
Are we still in fucking 2006? This reminds me of when Gorillas dropped Demon Days.
Like,
and it's like, did you know the Gorillas are a bunch of Satan worshippers? And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Of course they are. Look at everything they do.
Yeah.
It's like you're not paying attention if you thought anything else was happening here. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, ignorant Karen Christians getting upset about like you are just feeding the bait. Like Lil Nas hook, line, and sinkered all of you with his really... Christians are getting easier to get. They're getting easier to piss off and get under their skin. There.
That's why they're lemmings. They just follow somebody, let somebody tell them what to believe. And if you tell them something that doesn't sound like something their preacher said, then you're scared of you and you threaten them. And it's like, dude, grow the fuck up. Think for yourself.
Right.
It's like when they're children and their parents. It's like, stranger danger. Don't believe anything that doesn't come out of my mouth. Don't go running off with these people.
Yeah.
Like, this Karen was just going off. It's like, I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this Disney film. I'm so upset at Disney. It's like, bitch, did you see 101 Dalmatians? Like, her name was Cruel Devil there, too.
Like, and she was trying to skin dogs.
That one was way more fucked up.
No, like any of them. Like, they're doing all kind of magic and shit.
Yeah.
It's like, that comes from the same place.
It.
I mean, like, the jinn, the jinn was just a demon. Like, that's the
yeah.
Arabian word for demon. So Aladdin is a story about a boy that sees a demon all the time that's doing him favors.
And let me tell you what, the jinn in Arabian Nights is not nearly as nice as Robin Williams.
Yeah.
No.
He's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's a demon. He's a jinn.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I love the way Brothers Grimm tales and ancient stories get bastardized into You know how Cinderella ends? The stepmother gets her.
Oh yeah,
eyes
no,
pecked out by
they were
crows.
so they were like the original versions of every one of those Disney stories is morbidly fucked up.
Yeah.
Like people getting ripped to pieces and eaten alive and just fucked up. Blood magic shit out the wazoo.
And people are like,
Sleeping
Disney's
necrophilia.
into cults.
It wasn't. I don't think it was a slipper in the original Cinderella, but there's a story that's like Cinderella, and it was an amulet. She had a blood magic amulet.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like I'd have to look it up. It's been a while.
It wasn't
since
Sleeping Beauty.
Huh.
Was it?
Or I guess I was thinking Cinderella.
I was thinking it might have been Sleeping Beauty.
It
She
might
might
have
have had
been.
an amulet in that. I can't remember.
Yeah, there's some, but yeah, like one of those stories. You know, obviously I'm not like huge.
No, I hear you.
Like Sleeping Beauty was dope. It scared the shit out of me. Though.
Maleficent.
Yeah, like that shit was dope. Like I watched it.
Yeah.
It's been a few years, but I watched it. You know, recently enough. And I was like, yeah, this shit's sick.
Yeah.
But,
What like what works of fiction, let's say like books or movies, what were your big impacts as a kid besides the Bible?
not a reader.
Not a reader.
Mm-mm.
Really? I wouldn't have.
No, like I
really
learned to
wouldn't have
read
guessed that.
like academic research and shit, and I learned. I
You were
studied.
just an academic
I
reader.
studied like Arminianism and Calvinism pretty hardcore, so I've read a lot of like Puritan translations, and that stuff will break your brain. But I've solely used reading for religious and spiritual education.
I should have guessed. You're so. Yeah, that sounds.
Just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like people
That's
be like,
so
read this
funny.
fiction or that fiction. And, like I've tried. And I'm just like my brain is just like wasting my time.
Does not compute.
Like not helping.
No, I mean, it kind of is wasting your time.
Yeah. I got shit to do.
I read a lot of fiction, but I justify it in the way that it's like, oh, I'm doing research because I'm a writer. And it's like, this is how stories are made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but I mean, no, I'm just, it's entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just part of my journey.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I watched a ton of anime though.
What anime?
All of
Like,
it.
like which ones were your favorites?
Oh god, like I loved Wicked City. I loved
City.
Ninja Scroll.
Ninja
MD
Scroll.
Geist, like MD Geist. The opening of MD Geist is like 1,000 years after the end of Christianity. You know?
Oh,
And
shit.
yeah, like,
Nice.
and it's just like this dark world of war where people just kill each other. The whole film is
Oh,
just like
shit.
this robotic, like weird spacecraft on Earth.
So
shit.
our
like,
current
it's just-
trajectory then.
yeah, it's a fucked up cartoon. Fist of the North Star.
Yeah.
Demon City Shinjuku. You know, those were the first. Like all like the whole Macross universe, even though I wasn't a Robotech fan really. I loved the movies and shit later. But
Robotech's
Robotech is
dope.
cool, yeah. I've looked at it later in life. But what else? There's so much good anime out there. Last Exile is one of my favorites. So
Okay.
That's quality and tasteful, like and
Yeah.
beautiful. Like I mean it's like superb. Like and it's not fucked up at all compared to most. I mean it's drama and it's epic like life and death shit, you know. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful story about two kids persevering through a conflict, you know.
I think I've seen that one before.
Where they're flying around in little space,
Mhm.
little airships.
Yeah.
They were postal people, and they ended up becoming like this major thing in the war. You know.
Did you grow up with Gundam at all?
No, I wasn't too into Gundam, but Gundam like hit me before the anime bug. I mean, arguably G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Transformers, Voltron, all that shit was anime. You know.
I got you.
Like seriously, like the American looking like G.I. Joe looked really American. They had outsourced its cartoon
Right.
production to studios in
Yeah.
Japan, and they were just toy salespeople. But
Did you know the big eye thing comes from Disney? Like, anime style was based around American cartoons, like real old American cartoons, like 20s, 30s. So, like, when we're getting into, like, 50s, you start to see
like
things
Betty
like...
Boop, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, in contrast, in Japan, we start to see, like, Astro Boy.
Yeah. No, because Japan shipped from their like traditional style of art, you know, which was like a totally different thing, and then they like turned into this comic book thing.
They were like, we'll do Mickey Mouse
Akira
better.
was the shit. Akira was one of those amazing like cartoons.
One of those mind.
I used to buy the black and white mangas and color them. I know
Oh shit, that's
pretty
dope.
girl that like to do that.
I never
shit.
thought about that.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty
it's
cool.
fun.
That would be really cool to do.
Yeah, it's good.
Be a whole ass coloring.
I've got a
book.
bunch of manga.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun.
Right?
But
Just
not.
treat it like a coloring book,
I went to Rack's Roast Beef and talking about kids doing bad shit that they're not supposed to do. You know, it was like the whole time we were there, it was talking about winning all these toys. You know, I don't even know how old I was. I was probably like 6 or 7 or something. So I just sit there the whole time we're eating and just fill out I just grabbed the pamphlet to enter the contest. You know, and I just filled it out till it was time to go and stuffed them all in the box and I won. Yeah. But it had a Gundam model kit in there.
Nice.
You know, like from the 80s. Like I wish I had it. Like
That's dope as hell.
yeah, and that was the first model I ever tried to make. I kind of fucked it up, but yeah, that was my first exposure to Gundam.
Gundam was one of those. It's like, man, like
It's
I watched
dope.
Gundam
It's
as
dope.
a little bit as a kid,
Yeah.
and then when I was adult, I'm like, damn, Gundam goes so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like Gundam,
I was surprised when I finally gave it a chance. I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit.
I realized, like Gundam paved the path for a lot of my favorite anime, like Code Geass.
Mhm.
I mean, Death Note, things like that. The whole idea of like cat and mouse, war game style shit, like with real consequences and like drama and like characters actually fucking die. Not shonen anime like your Bleaches and your Narutos and your One Piece, but like that like shit happens and like it's real shit. That started with
There was a
Gundam.
blue something
And
that was
that
pretty
other
good,
one.
where they were fighting insects. Can't
A
remember
newer
the
one?
name of it. No, it was like 2000 era, I guess. I can't remember the name of it. Oh well. What was I going to ask you? Did you check out Gantz?
Oh yeah.
The cartoon. That
Yeah.
shit was super dope, and it was like because it was fucked
Oh,
up.
Gant is so yes.
Fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
good. Like that shit is amazing.
I wish
Yeah.
the anime went further. I know, like the manga
Yeah,
goes on a
no.
while. I never.
I don't think Kentaro Miura finished Berserk. I'm sad.
No.
He died. Like he knew it was coming. He was talking about it last year. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish it. Like, it's like
I mean, Berserk. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Berserk is near and dear to me and near and dear to a lot of people.
yeah, that's personal.
Yeah.
Like it's not like if I ever got a tattoo, like that's like up there. It's been up there on the list like for a long time. Like I want to get the logo.
There probably hasn't been a manga artist as talented.
He got a psychology degree just to write the damn cartoon.
Yeah.
You know, like that guy was crazy.
It's not my personal favorite, but the craftsmanship that goes into Berserk.
Mhm.
It's why all the animes never live up, and they, I mean, some of them are okay, but they never can live up to the beauty of it because each panel is such a work of art. It's like each one is a painting.
Yeah.
Every page is a painting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a psychological intensity to it.
Yeah.
Like good anime has this like
Yep.
pushing you past your threshold for experience.
It's weird because, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like anime is kind of willing to explore certain topics that you don't find in Western entertainment, and also vice versa. Like, Western entertainment explores topics that, like, Japan isn't as comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know, like both are very sexual, but they approach sex in a very different way, and they have different ideas and
pornography is
guidelines around it.
still illegal over there.
Yeah. And you know what? They're all a bunch of horny motherfuckers.
Yeah,
that
no,
sounds
they-
really
like
so
that,
funny.
like that.
Not
no,
all
like,
Japanese
yeah.
people. Wow.
Yeah, no, their culture is known for its perversions, and
Yeah.
I mean they got
Well, that's what
like
happens when you tell
like
people they can't watch porn.
Yorosaki Doji. Like, don't look it up if you don't know what it is.
Look it up, Alice.
No, like I want to say like
Link in the
things that I'm
description
not
below.
gonna say. Like I can't.
I'll pull it
I
up.
can't unite my two egos.
I'll have hentai playing as
Yeah.
you're saying this.
Yeah, no, that's some bad shit though. Yeah,
Nice.
but no, they're crazy though. Is my point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the English translation of that was Legend of the Overfiend. Which is
Sounds-
like evil lord, overfiend, you know, over is lord.
Oh, okay. The
Lord
over theme.
Evil.
Gotcha.
Legend of Lord Evil.
Like a step above an imp, the over imp.
Yeah, it's, you know, most people would look at it and be like, it's garbage, you know, like straight trash for your mind. And they're probably right. It's fucked up. I'm just gonna say.
But it's
yeah.
not for your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of really not good anime too.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
there's a
of
ton of
fucking
crap.
horrible anime.
Yeah. I love Chobits.
Chobits.
Yeah, I love Chobits. I love Clamp, though.
Clamp.
Yeah.
They did.
So much.
I'm thinking of Key. They did Clannad and Angel Beats and.
X is a pretty famous soul now.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, you should watch X. That's beautiful.
X.
It's
Just X.
temporal magicians. Yeah.
Okay.
Temporal magicians that protect sacred space from demonic energy.
I'm sold.
Yeah, like it's
That sounds dope as hell.
it's high class anime.
Is this an older one?
Yeah.
Okay.
90s.
Okay.
Yeah, they did X. They did Magic Knight Ray Earth. They did. God, they've done so much stuff, and I'm like, that's all I can think of. Like,
I guess this is the anime podcast now, but have you seen Madoka Magica?
I haven't watched it.
Man, it's magical girls. Like there's this little like fuzzy creature, and it grants these young girls like magical powers, kind of like Nanoha, but it's like a nod at that kind of stuff because it's really dark adult theme, like like they're fighting like mind flayer demons and shit, like and dying, like actual like really dying. These little girls are like going in, so like it's really cool because it's like it starts out like da 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 da,
Yeah.
and by like episode 2
Walk
you're
into
like,
the
oh,
death
God.
trap. Yeah.
yeah,
Those are the best ones.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yep. I've heard some. I was never really a big Attack on Titan fan. Someone just spoiled for me how it ended. It's.
Oh no, it was great. You didn't like Attack on Titan? I loved it. Loved it. I loved how it ended too. But they're gonna do another season, I think.
I gotcha. I've heard.
I don't think it was the end. Like,
Well, I heard how the manga ended.
oh, don't tell me that.
I won't.
No, I just got to where they finally figured out like the reality of their situation,
Okay.
and they got to the others, what was beyond the wall. You know?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm not. I never really. Maybe I never gave it a fair chance. I don't know.
love it.
I don't know what my problem. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's a great one though. That I was trying to think of it like because it was like everyone dying. I'm like, there's some good animes where everyone dies. That's one of them.
I'm trying to
But
think.
killing everybody.
What was it about it? I didn't. It was too slow. That's what I didn't like about it. Because
Oh yeah,
It
no,
takes
that
the pacing.
Naruto type, like where it's just like they'll really draw out some conversations. You know, like
It doesn't need to be that long.
like I saw what they were getting at. You know, like that, like.
Concept.
They were sort of important dialogues, and they just really wanted to take it to a place. Yeah, but yeah, no, I didn't like that about it either.
I feel like it was season 1. Aaron carrying a boulder for 3 episodes.
Yeah, like
I could have lived without that.
yeah.
I'm being really. I'm really critical about like art in general.
Yeah.
But like.
Yeah, I could have lived
it's
without
not-
the
it's
like
not
15
bad.
minutes of them talking on a table.
I don't.
You know?
Yeah, I don't.
Because they
hate
did
it.
that shit like through the whole thing.
And you know what? Even during all that, it's still it's still bearable because it's so goddamn gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like the outlines, like it's a really pretty show.
And then when it finally got going, it was like so amazing. As far as like when it would rev back up, it would just be like craziness. You know? Yeah, like I don't really feel like we're off topic too much because like we're talking about narratives being developed, and we're talking about like like people with magic powers, like and all of that shit like comes out of this philosophy that the rabbis were trying to express. So it's really not that far, and bringing up something filthy like Yurosaki Doji, that's like the essence of chaos without any kind of love of life, and just let's defile everything, So like we're still like in that world. That's what I was like. You can't go off topic anymore. Like You can't.
Well, it's all connected.
Yeah.
It all kind
It
of
really is. Like, and their whole system of like occult magic, like it really does come out of transmutation of soul substance that started in Genesis 1 chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not saying that's where all this shit originated from. I'm saying the people lived in an ancient world where they believed that soul substance was transferable. You know, like they believed that shit, and the Bible is proof that they believed it. You know, and like there's houses with dead bodies under the threshold that they found in Alaska in 1917. That is proof that they still believed it. And they still do. There's people drinking lion's blood in Africa because they believe in transmutable soul substance. They believe in magic. They believe you can like take soul substance out from yourself and create something else with it, which is like fireball. You know, like it. Well, I don't know, like, you know, like if the Holy Spirit is all about presence with an intention of life, you know, like then like what if like you get so far away from your ego and this false identity of yourself and you only live in that presence? What if that's like why Jesus was walking on water and healing the dead and shit? And like there's a lot of people talking about this shit, not just me. Like, and I like wonder because I'll get really deep in some meditation. And I've been having all kind of weird experiences, and I'm just like, how far can this go? Because I'm like still like doing this American lifestyle, having to work 80 hours a week and shit, and like, you know, and like I'm not like, you know, like sitting on a cliff somewhere all day, you know what I mean? Like, like that's like how far can this go?
Had,
you know, I don't know.
If you had unlimited time and resources, how far and how limitless would?
It's so funny, unlimited time. Like, I've been listening to a lot of people talk about time lately. Like it's like this really funny thing. Like I don't know how to like try to say.
I mean,
say it, but
time is just as
it's an illusion
beyond us.
There's only now. The scientific way of describing the passage of time is the what is it? The I can't forget this. It's something. It's basically like the process of change. Where there's a phrase. I got it right here, so I'm gonna look.
Without change,
the time would stop. Well, we couldn't observe time.
We wouldn't conceptualize time without change.
Without change, yeah. That's the only reason. Like the sun moving is.
So it's not
they call it the directionality of change.
The directionality of
the directionality of change. Yeah.
That's really well put.
Yeah, like so if like presence and consciousness is like before anything's emanated, you know, then a part of your head like is in that eternal state, you know, so it's like tuning out of the macro state and like going inward into the consciousness of conscious, you know, over awareness.
Going backwards.
Like time does travel funny, like in all kinds, like they like, you know, there's like scientists that have been studying people meditating. Like the Dalai Lama has a group of people that have been studying meditation for like since the 70s or something, you know what I mean? And there's all kinds of like other people that have been studying it, and like thousands and thousands and thousands of people when they meditate like experience a timeless type of aspect, you know what I mean? Like there's a reason for that, you know? Like and time will pass it. All kinds of weird shit will happen when you meditate, but
I not even through that kind of meditation, but like I think anyone who has worked with rituals through psychedelics like can understand that too, where it's like when you take psychedelics with another person, like say mushrooms or LSD, and you're in a room with this person, like that room becomes a time machine and time dilutes severely.
Oh yeah.
Now if there's a sober person in the room, you will see how time is not lining up with them correctly. But if you're both dose at the same time and you're alone in that room together, you are in a pocket of time outside of normal.
Like I got really present after work one day. You know, I just like really like just tuned into the present moment and like was like not thinking words at all, just like in this like really like aware state, you know, and it felt like I was on acid. Like, yeah, and I'm like walking around talking to strangers and bums and shit, you know what I mean? And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm on acid, you know. But I was just being present.
My friend Bob has never done psychedelics, and
it's not for everybody.
Well, exactly, and he is a really avid, like, astral projector.
Nice.
He gets out of his body really easily just because he's been practicing for like 25, 30 years.
That point in your awareness back in on itself, like, then you start to realize that thing is like doing this, you know, like, and it, like, I think it can expand all the way to the ends of the cosmos, you know, or shrink down to the smallest point, you know.
In everything and nothing, singularity almost, like almost like the Big Bang coming out of a single point.
The rigidity of the sea of potential, like breaking forth life out of it into space to embody form, it's almost like the rabbis were describing a Big Bang.
It's also like a crowning child, right? Like breaking through the chaos to produce life.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I love how we can, like...
No, they described the earth coming out of the water like that.
As above, so below is I think one of the most, like, universal principles. Because if you can imagine something on one scale, then you can understand it on a larger scale. Like, yeah. I mean, that's what a lot of the Bible and these religious texts are proposing is, instead of just saying it verbatim, they're explaining a concept to you so that you can see it in a small scale and apply it to a larger scale. Or see it on a larger scale and apply it to yourself on a smaller scale.
Yeah. It's funny that, you know, quantum physics uses macro state and micro state, you know, like they call it a microcosm in theology. You know, how the universe is a picture of the temple, which is a picture of Jesus' spirit infecting the church, which is a picture of you and your relationship with the spirit. You know, those are all like a macrocosm.
Interesting.
Within it, like, contained within themselves.
I think I asked you this the other day. You know who Jordan Peterson is?
No.
I think you said you were unfamiliar, which is funny to me because, like, I think you'd really like him. But he talks about, he's like, if you're in the wild, you're insecure because of, you know, like, he was conceptualizing snakes and how humans perceive snakes. And he's like, you know, a snake, you start building walls to keep snakes, and he used snakes as an example, but he's talking about the dangers.
Yeah.
Any reason you would build walls, you know? And he's like, but then once you've built your walls, you're really not quite there yet because there's snakes in the hearts of men too, and the people within your walls are also dangerous. And he's like, well, and even if you isolate yourself all the way and you get rid of all those snake people, there's a snake in your heart too that's acting against your own intentions and your own will. And until you get rid of those snakes, then, I mean, you might as well be in the wilderness with all the snakes.
Yeah. And it's true. It's a good way to put it. That's a cool analogy.
It's kind of like the rafter in your own eye, not being concerned about the straw in the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you realize, like, you're not the snake, you know, like, stop identifying with it, then you can see how to connect to that same part of people, you know, like, because they're identified with the snake, you know what I mean? But you can see the other side of it, like, you can see their mind free from it because you freed yourself from it, you know? So there's no more need for a wall, is sort of where I was trying to go.
My personal journey is, like, you know, coming out of being a witness and, you know, being angry and just angry at religion, angry at God, like, and then now in my, like, you know, mid-20s, coming full circle and, like, seeing all of the sins that the things my mom had taught me and the things I learned at church, seeing all of the truth in it, seeing all of the parts that were true, and not just focusing on the parts that weren't true, but seeing the nuggets of wisdom that I actually did retain.
Yeah. No, like, that's how you should live your whole life.
Yeah.
Like, put your attention towards the good.
Right.
Move your attention away from
Yeah.
the bad, and not in the sense of ignoring it, just in the sense of cultivating good, uplifting, positive. You know.
I think I've focused too much in my life on the self-satisfying and the pride and the bad and the crooked and the chaos. And
You're still young.
yeah, I think I'm tired though, you know? I think I'm ready for
It
a
has
change.
to wear you out. Like, most people have to reach a dead end of severe suffering before they'll give it up.
Yeah. I think I'm ready to jump ship off of that, or at least ease my way back towards the gray and less black. I'm not trying to go full white mage or anything.
Nah, like, when I woke up, like, when I had my little experience or whatever not too long ago, you know, like, I hit that point, like, right in the first couple of days. I was like, do I want to be a saint? You know, like, do I want to be totally ascetic? Because I could. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I really, like, contemplated it, you know? Like,
Do it.
nah, you know, I was like, I'll be like, you know, 1 foot on the sea, 1 foot on the land.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's how I feel. Like
Jesus. Like, yeah, because, like, yeah, anybody that missed that, like, that's how Jesus is described in Revelations.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, like, I don't want people
the,
to interpret it.
What? No, yeah, I mean, that's like, I have a lot of respect for Jesus, and the only reason I wouldn't call myself a Christian is pragmatism. Just being honest, I'm not living that life. I wouldn't profess to be a Christian because I'm not living up to that standard in my own mind.
Yeah.
I'm not even attempting to, and that's what it is, right? It's the attempt. It's what you said. The virtues you listed. I'm not living.
A ton of people like that have known me or met me wouldn't think I was a Christian, and have told me, "Oh, you're not a Christian," you know.
Well, fuck them. They're not Christian.
I've had to suffer that. I had a preacher tell me that the other day, and he totally didn't mean to. You know, we were having a real conversation like this, and I took him as far as I wanted to see how far I could really take him.
Yeah.
You know, and he started asking personal questions after a minute, you know, and so I was just being open with him about my life. And he was like, "It sounds like you were never a Christian," and I saw him realize that he just said that to me, you know, I just
I mean,
I just
that's not a very
did a
Christian
Jesus
thing
dodge
for him
left.
to
No,
say.
he was fucking, you know.
Yeah, he caught
I
himself.
loved it though, you know, because he got to see himself.
That's like,
because I had already told him that, you know, does a child need to know the English word love to know love? He's like, no. I was like God doesn't need your proper nouns.
that's right. He doesn't need whatever names you're putting on it, whatever labels.
Your business.
That's what we need, right? We need the stories. We need the names. Well, we don't need them, but it's a lot easier. We want the stories.
We
and
are
the
teaching
names
our
and the
kids to live
personalities.
in a time-based mind and to identify with themselves as isolated from everybody else. You're an individual. We're training them to not know God the whole fucking time.
I guess so.
So we're all in this world that's already completely at enmity with being present now, you know?
Do you think it's that way by design? The whole world lies in the
now, yeah. I mean, if you look at the force of chaos as an actual spiritual power, I mean, if God is a spiritual power, then the force of chaos has to be true too, or let's burn our Bible.
Okay.
None of it's true.
So
which is so funny
we may
that I
not
think it's
call
all
it-
parabolistic, but I think that it has a conscious agenda. It's technically unconscious, but to destroy. It wants to return to lifelessness.
I got you.
You know, which is a rejection of God's advance
And
for
that
romance.
so that would be counter-powerful.
I really want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
man.
really want to say this, man, because it's fucked up. But so when Jesus is the embodiment of God, the sea of potential from what all energy arises, which is why he's raising the dead and causing the blind to see. You know, he's like, yeah, God in the body. Hey, check it out. And you know, so the forces of chaos surrounded him in Jerusalem and pierced his body. God, the life, pierced chaos. Now chaos is piercing God.
Oh, wow.
So it's a type of sexual union, and he took their death into his body. And so it's this profound reversal, retransformation of the same thing. And
Oh, wow.
So it's a type of sexual union in the sense of two separate dimensions uniting, two, sexual unions, two internal subjective experiences becoming one.
God came into the flesh, and God was killed.
But he was also making love to chaos.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a really fucked up way to put it, but this is like the integrity of Scripture. Like, they're conveying this this expression. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, and like, it's funny because like there's so much to this stuff, like, and everything that's happening there is everything that's happening with like ritual sacrifice and blood magic, and it's everything that's happening with the creation. It's everything that's being expressed in the temple. It's everything that's being expressed through the Israelites and their encounter with the nations, and
that force that pursues
what we're experiencing now.
That pursues wickedness and death. Do you think it's like its power is parallel to that of life, and like it's equivocally powerful? It would have to be, right? Like,
there's I've read some really good like scholar theologians, like professionals from like Harvard and shit, and they talk about that because like it's, if it wasn't a formidable foe, then what is God? You know, like he made a puppy as his villain. It's like, no, it's the fucking primordial sea and the great Leviathan, and it rules the earth and it controls all the people, and God's got his little soldiers of light, like shining light in the darkness, like thwarting the beast somehow spiritually.
So that was always funny to me growing up. It was like, Satan was this angel created by God in heaven, and he somehow just has the power to rival God. Like, that always didn't sit well with me, because it just didn't make sense. It's like, well, God would obviously be more powerful in that instance. So like, how could Satan be as influential as he was, or as he is, without being equivalently powerful to whatever,
There's this whole aspect of it. So, primordial sea covered in darkness, let there be light. Light puts a boundary on chaos. Like God, before he broke free and generated life, he was like bounded and limited. So it's not infinite God. Thus, like, from the moment he conceived himself, this process started, is sort of the train of logic that the rabbis have. But, so he puts a limit on darkness. Here's light, and then he creates heaven above it to push it down. He brings land up from below it to push it out. Like, that's him putting chaos in order and subduing...
Giving it parameters, yeah.
It's subduing chaos, and basically he takes the whole sea of chaos and puts it in that bowl in front of the temple, and the priests wash in the waters of chaos, which is profound. Like,
wow.
that was what cleansed them. But that represents the primordial sea. Like, a lot of people may not like that, but like that's what it represented. And so God's like, I put reins on the Leviathan. It's under my control now. I came and subdued it, and then they'll depict God as the storm god, like I was talking about earlier, and he's raining hell out. The name for that hell is the Mayim, and that was the name of the abyss of the primordial sea. So he's using the sea of chaos as a weapon to defeat his foes, like, which is funny because they're the ones in allegiance to chaos, which your own chaotic behavior destroys your life. And so it's this extremely grand metaphor to talk about what we're doing to ourselves, and loving suffering and death, and perpetuating our own suffering and feeding off the sufferings of others.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a madman, but it's like, it also makes perfect sense.
You have your presentation of Scripture is the best I've heard.
It's fun.
And I won't just say that because you're sitting here with me. Like, you have a really profound look at it, and like, it's really insightful. Because
the universe did this to me, man.
Right.
Like,
I like
did it.
I know you fairly well. Like we're good friends, and this doesn't come from nowhere. All you do is research. Yeah. Like you.
Yeah. Like dude, and it's spiritual as fuck, dude. At this point, like a lot of it has been just like hammering through books, but it's transformed into this this really crazy thing, man. Yeah. And it's like you just like once you wake up to presence and that you're not the energy in your body necessarily, you're the awareness witnessing the energy. Like then you understand how you feed energy, and so like you stop holding energy in your body, so you start this transformation where you're cleaning out all this negative energy you've been holding on to, like, and you can't hold on to none of it. It's all supposed to just pass through you, like, and,
right.
And it enters into you and comes out of you, just like the wheels and making the form of the man. Like that's what we're doing.
It's really hard to let go of energy, though. That's a hard thing to do. Like it takes maybe comes
when
with
you
age.
tune into it, like it becomes like this really pleasurable thing. Like I mean, like I walked around for like 3 weeks straight with this huge stupid grin on my face, and it was just because I was being present. And I mean, like I was really suffering, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to live, I wanted to die, like my family was destroyed, by a bunch of evil shit, and I had a lot of really evil shit go down, and all of that's great, and I don't identify with that no more, man. I like realized that it wasn't me, like the only moment that ever was right now, and it's a wonderful place to be. And like experiencing all of this life without judgment is this like amazing way to live.
Yeah.
And it's this wild ride, and it like I'm just like wondering where the hell like it's gonna go.
I mean, I envy it because I've like
you have everything it takes
over the course
right
of,
now.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. The individual.
Like read Eckhart Tolle, he's dope.
What was that book again?
The Power of Now.
The Power of Now.
Yeah, he's super dope, and I thought it was gonna be gay, self-help bullshit. And it's one of the most profound things I've ever read. And then, like, he was talking about a time-based mind. And, and that preacher that told me that I wasn't a Christian, the thing I decided to start with was the whole cult of Moses and how they symbolized the celestial sphere and the way that they camped in the wilderness and walked around the wilderness, And then this girl I had just been talking to on Facebook or something, she's like, oh, I stalked your Facebook. I watched one of your presentations. I thought I deleted all them things. You know what I mean? She's like, I watched one of your presentations because I was telling her what I was telling them about. She's like, I heard you teach all of that in one of your lectures. I'm like, lecture? I'm like I'm like, lecture? That was just me being a nerd in my kitchen pissing off my ex-wife. But no, like, so I go and watch it, and the whole thing is about how the cult of Moses and the fucking cherubim and it was the curse of God and how it symbolized the passage of time. And then it was like, holy shit, all these meditation guys are talking about exiting a time-based reality to enter presence. And I'm like, oh shit, It's exactly, they're saying the same exact thing. And then like I just bought this awareness book, and this neurobiologist is saying the same thing, and he's like backing it up with physics and quantum physics and neurobiology and psychology. And it's like, and like the patterns that they come up with to express mental health like are the same patterns that the Torah has put in the fucking original part of the Bible, and it's just like so, God, what are you doing, like it's just nuts.
To start kind of wrapping it up, let me ask you another question. Like we were talking about, you made a point earlier about how what we teach our children is very individual, and there's very little altruism. It's very self-centric.
It's very dual.
Yeah. And I guess it was prophesied, actually. A lot of this is in scripture. But why does I guess to manifest himself, right? But like why are we like this why do we keep getting dumber in a lot of ways?
Well, that's just people being unconscious and living unconscious lives. The neurobiologist Daniel Siegel, like he's like, as far as like neural integration being a state of health, he's like the worst thing that you can do with your mind is to think on autopilot, to think unconsciously, to not be paying attention to what's happening around you. He's like, that's actually like the worst thing you do, because neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're being unconscious, then you're causing your brain to develop, you know, like this instead of like this, you know. So it actually makes you dumber.
Yeah.
Like it's like a true reason why it makes you dumber.
Right.
You know? Like, and then a neurally integrated brain that is like fully present in awareness, they've proven that it makes you live longer. So the story of Adam and Eve, the people that were directly in the presence of God, they were living for thousands of years. If they would have never left his presence, they wouldn't have died. So there's actually like scientific proof that this shit is what they were talking about. Like, as fucked up as it sounds, like that's what they're getting at. Like,
so the answer is self, like, and self-centeredness is really
is the experience that separates you from the presence of God.
And that's why we keep that's why we can't understand these profound truths that the rabbis wrote down, because
nobody's integrating their brains
no one's actually
with all
listening.
reality and all knowledge. Like, if you keep integrating knowledge, it'll lead you to this. And the nature of God embodying something else and then doing the same thing he did to embody it, you know, coming out of them and embodying other people. It's like saying God's a grandmaster wizard and he wants to become a grandmaster wizard through you. That's my new catchphrase there.
Yeah.
But that's why you got like the Toltecs and like in the Mexican and American culture, you know, they're saying something almost exactly like what the Torah is saying. You know, they didn't have the Torah. It's because God really is trying to communicate with everybody. And that's why you have all of these pagan cults that resemble the truth, and people thought it was evil. Like, you know what I mean? It's only evil when you're using it to hurt people. If you're building true love,
and to them,
and like, you know, a non-dual perception of life, like, then you're the champion for the same thing. You know? And that's why.
And it's two sides of the same coin, right? If you look at it from their side, no, the Israelites are the ones with the bastardized version of our God. They're looking at it the same way.
You know, like, for sure. Like, I mean, you can make the argument. They're like, yeah, we already have that over here.
Yeah.
Like, and you're copying our shit. You know, it's like, it's half a dozen or the other.
It's like you were saying, like, the quality that...
God wants this shit to be known. Like, you can communicate with me through presence, and so that's what is in the core of all of these different religions. That's why I really don't have any beef at all with Hinduism or Buddhism. I love Tibetan mysticism. Those people are amazing.
Well, Shiva takes the form depending on who's looking at it. So, like,
and if you look away from life and presence to destruction and chaos, then you embody it. Like, what you look at is what you embody. Where your awareness goes is what it gives life to. You know?
Like, Shiva can be that meek, mild blue boy, or he can be Narasimha, the man-eating lion that rips the demons out of man through the intestines.
Yeah.
That's like depending on who you are, God has a different face.
But that thing I was talking about feeding energies, you know, a spiritual master really can come and pull those energies out of your body. Like, you know, like that's what Jesus was doing, casting out devils. It's describing this thing, man, and it's like I'm endeavoring to start at the beginning to the end of the Bible in a very structured and focused way to teach people how with presence you can start to properly cultivate energy in your body and stop feeding negative energy and start living it. Like, presence is almost neutral, you know. Like, so I don't like saying positive. It's like, but once you start learning to cultivate your internal state, like, everything that they're doing makes perfect fucking sense. Like the Legion, you know, the story of Legion. You know, Jesus is like, what is your name? You know, he's not like, I'm Paul. He's like, I'm Legion. I've created this identity for myself. I'm fully identified with this thing, you know, and it's making me miserable and suffering, and I'm cutting myself and fucking screaming all night and scaring people and breaking chains, you know. And Jesus cast out this false identity of self, and I'm isolated from everything. I'm not connected to all things, and I am a isolated, chaotic state. He puts that into the pigs, and they commit suicide, which is what anybody who's possessed with suffering ends up wanting to do. They want to kill themselves, you know? Like, they jump into what? Where did the pigs go? Into the abyss, the sea. They ride the cliff into the sea. That's where we're headed when we worship destruction and we reject the presence of God by resisting what is right now. Like, the whole Bible's teaching this shit.
Fuck, man.
Front to the back. Now, and it's getting worse and worse the deeper I go, man. Like, I've tapped into the Hebrew vocabulary for consciousness and awareness. And, like, it is a vocabulary. They talk about it all the time. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like, I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm going to write this book and
hell yeah, you
I'm going to change the world.
Yeah, Danny, I really think you are, man. Like, what you're teaching is useful for a lot of people. And
it healed me, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there was nowhere for me to go in life. Like, you know, like,
no, I
the nature of what happened to me.
I saw it in real time. Like, as your friends saw. That's what, like, what I was saying earlier. Like, I actually envy it. Like, because I saw where you were compared to where you are now.
It's nuts.
And it's a really drastic.
I felt like I learned magic.
You did.
Like, yeah, I'm like, dude, this is straight up like magic. Like,
as a chaos magician, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. Like, and it's like, dude, like the people that wrote the Bible were trying to give it to you. Mm-hmm. You know, and like when I started explaining all this shit, like, you know, it's got so much authority and weight and gravity and continuity that it's like nobody's gonna be able to really. Like, I'm a thorough scholar. I'm gonna have to not write it scholastically. Yeah. You know, like, because I want to help people and show them this pattern of this thing that they can do themselves, you know.
Fuck doing it by the book. Do it in a way that'll help people.
Nah, and if it is successful, it'll open the door for me to just do research for the rest of my life, and I'll write tons of books, and scholastic as I want them to be.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see your book once it's finished. Yeah. Alice, don't sleep on Danny. Danny has a lot headed in the future, and thank you guys for doing this again.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
No, I wanted to get it out. Like, I've been like learning all of this stuff, and it's just blowing my mind. Like,
I hate to like, we could talk for another hour. I hate to cut it short, but we're already breaching 2 hours.
No, that's good. Yeah.
But we'll definitely talk more in the future. Like, obviously, you're always welcome here at the tea party, and even before your book comes out, we'll have you on again, and then of course after, to plug it, because that's something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be a minute. It's gonna take at least a year.
I mean, if you weren't taking your time with it, it wouldn't be worth the time.
Yeah. No, it's a hell of a calling. Like, I feel really like crazy that
it's
life
more like,
has like caused me to like be where I'm at with it. You know?
I feel like it's got a hold of you rather than the other way around.
Yeah, for sure. No, and like some of these things I've been talking about and that I'm trying to write about, you know, they're like above me, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm like having to reach into like expressing them like way out of my, you know, actual field of expertise, you know. But I'm gonna do it, and I am. Like, it's gonna be good.
It's cool to it's a huge undertaking. It's a big achievement to try and grapple with, and just even like. Even the effort or the commitment to undertake something like that is commendable. So,
thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, it's a calling.
Alice, have a good night. We'll see you next time.
Later, Alice. It's been fun.